Today, I'm joined by a filmmaker who has built a career out of turning the wonderfully absurd into something strangely profound, whether that's donning a gorilla mask in Silvio or quite literally portraying the most committed blade of grass you'll ever see in Tux and Fanny. But with his new film OBEX, things feel a little bit different this time. Instead of disappearing behind a mask or photosynthesizing in the background, he's stepping firmly into the spotlight as the lead. So I'm very excited to talk about what that change is like and how OBEX fits into the wonderfully strange world that you've created. Albert, congratulations on OBEX, and thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Matthew, and thanks for bringing up my role as the blade of grass. No one has ever brought that up before, so
How has no one ever brought that up? I would say, it's up there with the best blade of grass I've ever seen in my life. Potentially Oscar nominated worthy, but you
yeah,
can't win them all.
right. Well, at least we can start talking about it today. Yeah, and that was a role that I won out over many different people. That was yeah, really hard fought to get to be the blade of grass.
And I'm glad because there's no one else that I could see doing it like yourself.
Cheers.
So I read in an interview that the idea for OBEX came around quite organically. You said you came across some old Macintosh computers in a thrift store. You also got your new dog Dorothy, who we just saw, which turned out to be Sandy, your furry co-star. So I'd love to know, is this sort of approach to creating films a common thing for you when you're filmmaking, or like do you just let these ideas come naturally to you, but inspired by everyday life?
Yeah. So I think it's a combo of kind of being open and you're at a junk shop and you see computers and you buy them and you're not really sure why you're buying them, but then you have them in your basement for a few months as other ideas are kind of coming in, and eventually these different ideas start to kind of combine and stick together. And you've got the computers, you've got the dog, there's cicadas happening outside. Your friend gives you these three TVs, another friend gets rid of their VHS collection. All these things start happening, and it just starts to kind of snowball, and then you build these situations and characters kind of around these different things. And each time it feels a little bit almost like a miracle when new ideas come. You can't believe that another idea has started to take shape. You finish one project and you think, I'm empty, my brain is empty, I have no ideas. And then, if you're just kind of going for a walk or in a car driving a great distance, all of a sudden, boom, these things come out of nowhere, and it you just, hope you can write them down fast enough and kind of get them out of your head onto the screen. And if you can, then you've got another movie.
You mentioned the cicadas. Now, obviously, they play a big role in the new film OBEX, but I've learned from after researching about the movie, most of my knowledge about Baltimore comes from supporting the Ravens. So I don't know much about the cicadas, but I hear the cicadas brood is quite a big thing that happens every 13, 17 years in your part of the world.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing because every summer you get some cicadas, but not like a crazy amount. But then every 17 years, yeah, you get this huge brood, which we had one in 2021 when
Hmm.
the ideas were started for OBEX, but it's quite wild. You walk down the street and they land on you, they're flying by your head, they're kind of covering the trees, and they're almost so loud that you can't hear yourself, speak. And so, yeah, and I remember the previous one in 2004. I had just moved back to Baltimore. And then I even remember the previous one in 1987. I had just moved to Baltimore. So it's like this strange insect that, you can kind of like have these markers of your life measured
Hmm.
through. Um, and yeah, it just felt like, okay, if I want to make something with these bugs, I better do it now, or else I'm gonna have to wait 17 years. So that was another reason that OBEX kind of happened when it happened.
That's quite crazy to think because from my accent, you may be able to tell I'm from New Zealand, so I'm from the complete other side of the world. And growing up in like country life of New Zealand, there was a lot of cicadas, but it was mainly you would just hear them and then you'd barely see them
Mm,
until they leave their shells behind. And as a
yeah,
kid, I'd go around crunching the shells up. But
sure.
we don't get those sort of swarms or broods that every so often that your part of the world clearly does.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those strange things where we're all on this planet, but even on this planet, there's such kind of different types of habits of these animals and different animals. And Um, I've actually been thinking a lot of New Zealand lately, just because we rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, of
So
course,
did
and
I.
oh, and it just I'm always amazed at how good the effects still feel, and just how those movies are. We did the extended version, and they're 12 hours plus, but it's still not enough. You still finish it, and you're like, I want more. I need more.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I also just did those with my partner down at the in the cinema playing the extended edition with the message from Peter Jackson, which was an incredible way to experience it for the first time. But
Yeah.
you mentioned obviously animals. So as someone like myself who grew up with really strong bonds with my dogs, the driving force of Connor going into this surreal digital world to save Sandy, it hit me in a very real way. So was saving Sandy always meant to be this emotional core of OBEX, or do you see that that bond as representing something larger about connection and vulnerability, especially for someone like a character like Connor who struggles to connect with people?
Yeah. So the first part of the question, she wasn't always it wasn't always going to be this kind of center piece of the movie. So we got the dog, and it was soon after getting Dorothy that I realized, oh, I think this could be a part of the movie and actually kind of unlock something, because without the dogs, Connor's not talking to anybody. He's just kind of
Hmm.
alone. But now with this dog companion by his side, we really get to know Connor because of his relationship to her and the way he talks to her and treats her, and that really kind of unlocked the rest of the movie of like, oh, this is also who he cares about most, and who he's, willing to kind of step out of his comfort zone and go on this quest to save. And yeah, I think what you said, it's, Connor is definitely kind of a solitary figure. He doesn't have any really friends or family we see. It's all just this dog. And I think there's people that aren't too far from Connor who maybe can identify more with animals than other humans. I definitely am drawing a little bit from my own life for this Connor character. I will say I have a couple friends here and there, but there's nothing quite as pure as the love of a dog,
Absolutely. Do
and
you
it's just
think if
yeah.
sorry, do you think if Sandy's character had been replaced by a person instead of a dog, do you think those emotional stakes would have felt quite different, or do you think there's something uniquely honest about the human animal bond that made the story really work?
I think it would have been totally different if it was a human. I think it's tough to even imagine that movie. I can't even think about like what that would look like or feel like,
Hmm.
because of kind of how we set up Connor in the first half of the film as this kind of shut in his daily routines. I think another human in that space, just I don't know how they would fit in a
Hmm.
way. So yeah, I think it had to be a dog, um, and also, yeah, just that purity of that love of between a dog and a human, I think creates that kind of space to, it's like the kind of thing where so many times people will watch a movie and there could be all this extreme violence of humans on humans, but then the second an animal or a dog or something is hurt, that's what people talk about, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same way where it's like, if you're just rescuing another person, it's like, oh, we've seen this, or like, I don't care. But the second it's a dog, people are like, oh my gosh, I have a dog, I have a cat, I know what that feels like. I'm invested in this journey.
So if you, Albert, had to go into a game to save your dog Dorothy, much like your character does, what game would you go into and how far are you willing to go? Because personally, I'm going through the Silent Hill franchise to save my dogs.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I would do the same. Silent Hill, which was always too scary for me to play when I was a kid. I tried, and I didn't get very far. Um, but as you can tell, I love Zelda, so I'm thinking,
Yes.
if Ganondorf kidnaps Dorothy, I'm picking up my sword and going into the dungeons, and I'm trying to solve the puzzles and get her back.
So yeah, you mentioned playing something like The Legend of Zelda as a kid, which obviously had a big impact and influence on this film. You project when you play those games as a kid. Obviously, from my personal experience, you kind of project yourself into this hero, but now you're literally embodying that archetype on the screen. So did that process of playing the lead role, as opposed to, as we mentioned, a fantastic blade of grass,
Hmm.
did that process change about like how you think about nostalgia and whether it's something you can truly return to, or is it maybe just something we're always chasing in different forms, like films like OBEX?
Yeah, I mean, when you're a kid, you're so open to kind of make believe and creating imaginary worlds and playing, and that's why these games feel so large and big as a kid because you're a little bit more just open to that part of yourself. And I think getting to play Connor, especially in the second half where he gets the sword and the pointy hat, just like Link has, was really kind of allowing myself to play again in that way, or giving
Mhm.
myself the chance to play, and then the joy of kind of recording it with my other friends and making a movie about it. It was just, what a delight, what a treat. And it was after the day we were filming where I stabbed the skeletons. It was like 3 a.m. and we were all tired. And I just started laughing because I realized that I had been doing the same thing when I was 10 of like pretending to fight with it was my
Yeah.
great grandfather's sword. It was the same sword. And I'm like, this is the same thing I did, 30 plus years ago. And I think if you can ever find yourself doing that thing again, to me, it's like not nostalgia. It's kind of like honoring or cherishing that part of you, that child part of you that still exists and is still in us. And we grow up and we become adults and we have, adult responsibilities and have to pay our taxes and all this BS of modern life. But like within us are those children. And I think when you get to make a film, you can kind of you're creating a world, you're kind of creating a space where that child can maybe come back out and get to have some fun.
It's a bit of a homage to that sort of childlike wonder that some people forget about a little bit of time, but it's obviously very important, I think, in our adult life to keep hold of that childlike.
Yeah, and it's not about like I'm gonna live in that space forever. It's like I'm gonna make a movie and film for a few weeks, and I know that I've got my adult life waiting for me on the other
Mhm.
side. But this is like I'm just gonna have some fun, and also it's like looking at it. It's like investigating that childhood and who you were back then through your adult eyes too, like this movie brings up some, heavy themes and some stuff that is more like as an adult trying to figure out what was going on back then. So it's not like it's all just like rosy-eyed kind of like everything is good and kids are great. It's like let's kind of look at it from both ends here at the same time.
So if 7-year-old you could see OBEX, what do you think he would be most excited about? Like what part would absolutely just like blow his mind?
I think 7-year-old me would probably get really excited by like the back half, the adventure and like, the skeletons and
Hmm.
stabbing the cicada soldiers and the talking TV and just that adventure. I have dear friends, their 10-year-old came out to the theater a few weeks ago when we showed it here in Baltimore. And then he went home and he drew a comic of the whole movie, which to me, that's something that I think I would have done at that age. I would have like, you know, gone home and drawn the characters um and I think what he likes like the demon and the kind of the like action adventure stuff of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, that's about my time up. I don't want to keep you too long, but thank you so much for speaking with me today. OBEX is having its UK premiere on the 2nd of March at the Glasgow Film Festival. That's such a cool place to be debuting it to the UK, with a wider release on March the 9th. Now, I'm sure audiences are going to be just as captivated by Connor and Sandy's journey as much as I was. It's been fantastic hearing about the creativity and the nostalgia and the emotion behind the film. Thank you again, and congratulations on bringing this surreal world to life. And thank you for bringing Dorothy along to the interview as well.
Yes, well, thank you, Matthew, and Dorothy. I think was just giving you her send off there with a few barks, but yeah, thanks for your time today, and yeah, go check out Obex when it plays at the Glasgow Film Festival or online wherever you can catch it.